creating community in the places that we love. Now, a lot of us have been, if you work from a desk, if you spend a lot of time at a desk, or if you're a student, you might have, like me, I spend a good amount of time at a desk and I end up with some pretty good back pain. And luckily for you and I, our guest today is from Legend Chiropractic, which is a new business in the Lake Minnetonka area. And we're going to talk to Dr. Axel Osborn today, and he specializes in neurological chiropractic care. And I'll share when I bring him on how I met him and all that, but it should be pretty good. He's going to share with us some tips for how to improve our posture and health while we're tied to a desk. So this is fantastic news and information for, again, anyone who spends a lot of time at a desk or on a device, kids who are in school, all of that. So I want to welcome to chat with Nat, my very special guest.
Thank you for having me, Natalie. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you here. Now, if you've been following me on social media or you know me personally, you might know that for a few years I've been dealing with neurological Lyme disease. And for me, it causes some neurological issues. I've gotten so much better, and I like to think that if you meet me, you would never know that I'm dealing with this issue or that I do. I've come a very long way. But 2.5 years ago, I actually lost my ability to walk. I couldn't walk for a while. I had, horrible pain, fatigue, a whole host of issues. And I've gone through a lot of different treatments, and I've gotten a ton better. But one issue that was remaining for me was I was having still a lot of dizziness. I could not walk a straight line to save my life. If I probably couldn't pass a field sobriety test, and I don't even drink alcohol because I was still having trouble really with my balance. And I came across Legend Chiropractic. They're new in town, and I went in and checked it out, and I started seeing Dr. Axel. And after just a couple times of seeing him and adjustments, I was able to walk a straight line, which is pretty crazy because, again, this is something I've been dealing with for a long time. And it just made such a difference. So I really wanted to have him on to talk about, one, he's, like I said, new in town in the Lake Minnetonka area. What brought you to our community? Why did you decide to put down roots and open a practice here?
Yeah, so as you know, Natalie, I'm from northern Minnesota. So I grew up in Bemidji. You could throw a rock over your shoulder and probably hit 6 different lakes. So I grew up, boating and doing all these fun things all summer. And so I went to the University of Minnesota, and then I went to Northwestern Health Sciences in Bloomington for chiropractic school. So I rooted down in the cities. I started to really feel at home in the cities area, but I still wanted that lake, that small town, that everyone knows everybody type of feel. And when I first went into downtown Excelsior, I fell in love with the feeling of it. You
Sure.
walk through 1st through 3rd Street of downtown Bemidji, and it feels identical to the feel of downtown Excelsior, where everyone knows everybody. You're sitting, you can actually walk by someone that you know and chat with them on the street. That was really special to me, and I've felt at home here ever since. I've been around for close to 20 months now at this location, so I've been here a little while, but still relatively new to the area, but I absolutely feel at home. It feels amazing to be here.
I didn't know that it was that similar to Bemidji. I actually don't think I've ever been to Bemidji, but I'm definitely gonna have to go now and see that.
The one difference is sometimes you'll see a Tesla around here, and Bemidji, it would be an F-150. Otherwise, the downtown feels the exact same.
Now, what is the difference between, how would you explain when someone asks, okay, well, what is neurological chiropractic care as compared to what we traditionally know as or see or recognize as chiropractic care in general?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. A quintessential chiropractor, when you think of chiropractic care, getting the twisting, the cracking, the popping, it's a very structural based way to look at your physiology.
Mm-hmm.
What we do is we know that your brain and central nervous system control and coordinate every function within the human body. So your brain has to adapt to all the external stresses, whether they're physical stresses, aka sitting at a home office all day. That's
Yeah.
something that we're going to be talking about a little later, a little foreshadowing there. Chemical stresses, so what we're putting into our body, whether it's prescription drugs, your diet, things like that, all the nutrients that you're putting into your body, and then emotional stresses. So the stress of work, the stress of working from home, maybe having your kids at home there with you at the moment. So all of these things, your brain has to analyze and adapt to all of those external things, and then still get really good, beautiful communication out to your organs, your glands, your muscles, and keep things functioning properly internally. So as you know, we have some really, really cool technology in the office to be able to analyze how well your neurology is doing that. We can find really specific areas of where your neurology is maybe falling short, causing whether it's aches, pains, discomforts, or sometimes it can be organ issues as well. So we are very, very specific to your neurology. We know that it's your most important system. It's your master control center of your entire body. And so we're sitting there and focusing on that with our technology and through our technique. And as you know, it's very gentle, very specific in comparison to maybe what people would think chiropractic care is. I hope that you've never walked out of pain after a correction.
No, I've not, but I definitely noticed that your adjustments are a lot more gentle. And that blew my mind because they're so effective. They're so efficient. I've gotten chiropractic care here and there for years, and it just feels like it really holds well, and it's just not so violent, if you will. And being someone who, like I said, deals with these neurological issues, I noticed a difference pretty darn quickly, and it's been getting better. I've been getting more energy back. One of the big changes for me was I would say the last 2.5 years, I pretty much need to sleep 9 to 11 hours a night almost every day to function and do what I do. And the last few weeks, I've just not been needing it. I went from pretty much collapsing in the evening to having to make myself go to bed, which is something that I've not experienced for such a long time. It's to me, that's half the fun, is when you're staying up and you like got to make yourself go to bed because you got to get up early. I went from just trying to force myself to stay up past 7 o'clock to now I'm like, okay, you need to go to bed because you got to get up early. I don't need as much sleep. So it's making me it's interesting. I'm creating more time. I'm having actually more time because I'm not having to spend 11 hours a day sleeping. Now, also, I noticed that at Legend Chiropractic, now you're located right at 7 and 41. He's over by Tuesday Morning, if anyone watching is familiar with that store. And he has early morning appointments, so you can schedule it before Tuesday Morning opens, which I like to do because if I go into Tuesday Morning, I'm going to be there for a while and walk out with a bunch of stuff. So I like to go in at like that 9 o'clock hour before Tuesday Morning opens at 10. But what would you say? One thing I'm excited about that I actually want to talk about next is you're starting to have yoga classes actually at Legend Chiropractic. Can you tell me a little bit more about that or what's probably coming?
Yeah, so I actually just had a meeting with Nicole from Spirit of the Lake.
Yes, we
She,
love her.
yeah, she has stopped doing in-person classes at the moment with
Hmm.
COVID. But she might be, and she is still in the works with her and her team to figure out a good time and a good day to come on in. But she might be offering some weekend classes where you can get in person. We can still social distance, do all the things that are important for mitigating and still working with COVID and making sure that
Sure.
everyone is safe. But so that's really exciting. That's a little sneak peek of what is hopefully coming within the next couple of weeks. And then on Tuesday evenings, I have a group fitness instructor coming in doing really postural focused group fitness where it works hand in hand with the neurology, because when your posture improves, those nerves actually going between the brain and the body are going to have less stress and less tension on them.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. So if people wanted to find out about those things, they can find you on Facebook under Legend Chiropractic, and they can also go to your website, which we have scrolling down on the bottom there. Make a note of his website, and you can find out when the time and whatnot for the Tuesday class, or also what's coming with your partnership with Spirit of the Lake. That's really exciting. That'll be
Yeah,
fun.
I am really excited about that. And then I have an Instagram as well, which is just Legend Chiropractic as well. So normally my stories will remind people of those classes coming up and those events coming up specifically as well.
All right. Now let's talk about, so as a realtor, I'm out and about a lot, but I probably spend, I would say the most of my time, I'm either on a device, on my phone, iPad, desktop, or laptop. I'm almost constantly on some kind of a device unless there's somebody that's in front of me. And I've struggled with trying to find ways to, mitigate some of the stress that puts on my body and the pain and the discomfort. What are some things that I and other people are watching could do if they spend a lot of time at a desk to kind of mitigate those issues or at least help with it? So it's just not as uncomfortable.
Yeah, sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day, it will create some discomfort because it's putting you in a really compromised position. I have this nerve chart here,
Hmm.
uh, but basically, as you see, the spine has four natural curves, and when these curves uh, stay extremely functional and stay there, your function is going to work really nicely. The bad part about being in a seated position is it tucks this sacrum under here,
Hmm.
and then it flattens this low back. So this curve gets affected, it gets flattened, and then this cervical curve here, which is your neck, which you get low back pain and you get neck pain. Those are the two main areas, those two main curves that actually are affected by being in this seated position for a long period of time. Uh, so the two main things that I see in the office is that the low back flattens. And when the low back flattens, that lumbar spine, those nerves start to be affected, those muscles start to be affected, have to work really hard. That sacrum tucks under, and then you start getting the low back pain. For the cervical spine, and I'll show you here, you get what's called anterior head carriage. And hopefully my audio comes in well here, even though I'm talking sideways. But this anterior
Hmm.
head carriage comes from having your shoulders forward. So you round these shoulders, you start stretching these muscles in the back, and they become underactive. And then you get this what's called anterior head carriage here. And that's just when your chin starts to jut forward and you start losing this postural curve that is really, really important, not just for feeling better, but making sure that those nerves that are actually coming out of your spine in those areas get affected. So one of the main things that I have people do, and you can do this once an hour, you can do this twice a day, really whatever you can remember to do it. There are a couple really quick tips that you can do at home without coming into the office uh, to to help mitigate it. Like you said,
Sure.
it's 8 hours a day, it's 40 hours a week or more. Yeah,
Hmm.
sometimes you're going to need some extra help, and that's really what I'm here for. But just a couple things that you can do. I'm going to turn around here.
Okay.
So from these, your shoulders here are going to
Yeah.
start being drawn forward from this typing, this
Yeah, that's right. Because
yeah,
leaning
coming forward,
forward.
you're using the mouse. Yep. So to help mitigate that, to help correct that, you just want to move your shoulder blades here and pinch them together in the back. So you can
Pinch
hold
it
those
together in
for
the back.
three. Yep. And so you're almost like trying to hold a sheet of paper between your shoulder blades there.
Also, really far back.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you really want to stress these shoulder
Oh,
blades.
that actually feels good.
Yeah. And so you can do that. You can do that for 3 seconds at a time. I say to do it like sets of 10. And what that's going to do
Did
is
you
that's
say
going to,
sets
again,
of
that's going to,
10? So you just kind of
yeah. So you can
one,
do,
two,
you
three,
hold it for three
release.
seconds. Yep. Exactly. And so that will help draw those shoulders back. And that's really important.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
that does feel good.
so I do that once an hour if I'm sitting at my desk for a long period of time. Luckily, I'm not in a profession that I need to do that all the
Sure.
time, but it's amazing to help those postural stabilizing muscles
Hmm.
really re-engage in the posterior part of your spine.
So try to remember
Next,
each hour, just stretch it out like that, maybe 10
yep,
times. Okay.
Yep, for sure.
What's next?
And that's more of an exercise.
Hmm.
What's next is
So what
that.
I'm hearing is this counts as exercise time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I heard the word exercise. I'm counting it. I'm going to tell
The next
my
thing that we want
Apple
to
Watch to count it.
the next thing that we want to do is affect this anterior head carriage. So
Okay.
this chin jut here, if you think of, I use the analogy of a bowling ball, but if you think of your head, it's on average about 20 pounds. You think of how efficiently a set of muscles can
Mm,
stabilize your neurology here. And so if you think of your head jutting forward here, think of holding a bowling ball out to the side
sure.
in comparison to holding it over the center of gravity. So that's what's happening when you get this anterior, this chin jut here.
Hmm.
So you bring this out to the front here, and that really stresses those muscles in your neck and your spine. And that's why you
Uh-huh.
get a lot of those aches, pains, and discomforts.
Oh, so kind of all that neck pain up in this area.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
Base of the skull, shoulder blades area here, upper shoulder blade. Really quick thing that you can do. Again, we're going to do sets of 10. You can do this
Okay.
once an hour. You can do this 3 times a day. You really can't overdo it.
All right.
You want to give yourself a double chin here, so I'm gonna look a little silly here at the moment, but you draw this straight back and you almost give yourself a double chin.
The most
And
flattering angle ever.
exactly, very, very, very flattering.
So you just pull
So
it back.
you're just pulling it straight back and holding it for 3 seconds.
Okay.
You'll feel these deep neck muscles start to engage.
Yeah,
And
it feels a little
they-
strange, but okay. So three
yeah, so
seconds.
those are the muscles that are actually supposed to be stabilizing your neurology. And so when you're
Gotcha.
re-engaging them, it can feel really uncomfortable or really tight. That tells me that they're underactive. So that's another really good thing that you can do throughout
Hmm.
the day. And then the third thing that I love to do, this is one of my favorites here, is you depress one shoulder.
What do you
So
mean
you're
depressed? Like push it
so
down?
push down. Yep.
Okay.
So it's going down.
Yeah.
You're taking your hand,
Uh-huh.
drawing over, and you're feeling that stretch
Oh, yeah.
in this area here, and that just helps release all that muscle tension throughout the day as well. So
So
you can do
drop the
that.
shoulder and then
Drop the
just
shoulder.
stretch it
That's the
over.
biggest key to allowing this muscle to really stretch
Oh,
there.
that does feel
And then
good.
you can even do it up to the side on both sides, and
Oh
you'll
my
feel
gosh, it's so
a ton
tight.
of tension release.
Yeah.
Just within, you can do all of these exercises probably within a couple minutes.
Yeah, I can feel that immediately.
Yeah,
That does feel better. And I can see how if you got into the habit of doing that, that it wouldn't be because what I tend to do, and I think a lot of people are guilty of this, is we just sit and I start working and I just don't stop. But I'm going to set a reminder because I know that I can tell Alexa to remind me, every hour to stretch.
yeah.
Alexa, remind me every hour to stretch. See if she does her job.
At what time would you like the first reminder?
In an hour. She should be able to figure that
That
out.
would mean late night
Oh my
reminders
God, I
between
don't need the back
1 p.m. and
talk right
5
now.
a.m. Okay.
Yes.
Hilarious.
Remind me to go
Okay.
reset
I'll
that.
remind you every hour starting at
She's going to tell me
1:15
every hour
p.m.
for 24 hours just to be sassy because I asked her to do something.
Pretty funny.
Okay, I got a question. So, or actually, we have a question from someone who's watching, and Christopher wants to know. He says that he has a herniated disc in his neck and has been using PT and exercises to strengthen the supportive muscles in the area. Can you share what chiropractic methods there may be that could be more helpful?
Yeah, I work hand in hand with PTs quite often,
Hmm.
and Christopher, the biggest thing is we would want to start by getting you assessed. So if I know what if there's localized nerve interference between your brain and that musculature that's actually attempting to stabilize your neck muscles, I'm sorry, stabilize your joints in your upper neck. Basically, when we improve that posture, those discs can almost be sucked back into proper alignment there. So uh, they're they're kind of these little squishy balls, but if they are not coordinating well, directly right on top of each other. They can start to squeeze out a side. And if you aren't getting very good communication from your brainstem and your cerebellum here that actually controls your muscular coordination throughout your entire spine, that's where maybe a PT by itself could potentially be missing some of the really important parts of making sure that things are going to stabilize and structurally things are going to shift back to where they need to be, whether your muscles are strong enough or not. If that communication from the brain isn't getting properly there to actually change that muscle firing pattern of that muscle, that's what we'll be looking at here at the office with neurological chiropractic care.
And that, and Christopher, if you're still with us, I would definitely recommend setting up a consultation and appointment with him and do the scans. And you can get all his contact info at the website that's scrolling below. I walked in one day and I walked in and when I first met him and I'm like, can you adjust me? My back is killing me. And he's like, no, first we need to evaluate you. And of course I was like, ah, but then I did it and it made so much more sense because you really want to make sure that you're not just going in blind, that you're actually addressing what you need for your individual body. So now with doing those things, so doing, the stretching, doing that one, pulling your neck back,
Yeah.
is there a way that, when we talk about posture, so when I'm sitting at my desk and I try to do things where it's, I have my desk, my chair, and my computer at the right height when I'm at my main workstation. But often if I have to work into the evening, I like to grab my laptop and go just sit in a recliner and put it on my lap. And I know that's probably creating kind of a not the greatest posture, but can you give me an example of what really is good posture? We hear the words good posture. I think we know what it is, but what really is it? So I'm sitting here in my chair and I'm working. How should I really be, sitting or having my shoulders?
The problem with being in a seated position is there's no such thing as good posture. Really, having your sacrum tucked under, your hip flexors being shortened, your pelvis being rotated. There's no such thing as good posture with being in a seated position, and that's why most of the people that come into the office are young professionals or professionals sitting at computer desks, because it is really, really detrimental to your neurology or your underlying neurology of your spine. With that said, those exercises that we were just doing here, good posture is when your brain is directly above your center of gravity. That keeps as much stress and strain off of those actual nerves that are exiting your spinal column. So
not leaning forward, but just really kind of straight. Forward.
You want to draw your chest out, draw these shoulder blades back, and your brain should be directly above your pelvis. And that would be the best possible posture you could have in a seated position. With that said, you're still in a compromised position. The low back, for me, is the hardest to be able to keep perfect posture with, because you're putting that, being that it's so close to that sacrum being tucked under, it flattens out. No matter if you have a lumbar support or not, it really wants to flatten out in the low back. So I see
some people stand. I mean, so are there actual benefits to standing when you're at your desk or your workstation?
Yeah. So standing is much better for you.
Yeah.
Because you're ergonomically that the base of your spinal column, which is your sacrum, is not in a compromised position, isn't in a tense position. Those sciatic nerves coming down your low back into your sacrum, out to your legs and your feet, aren't being stressed. So definitely standing desks can be amazing. I just didn't really go over that because for a lot of people, that's not really an option for a home desk setup.
Yeah. And it doesn't really, it doesn't necessarily appeal to me, but I think sometimes I could stand, because with my setup, I could actually stand. Now I have another question for you from Molly, and she's saying, is there a risk in chiropractic care that once a person receives adjustments, they will need it ongoing, or is the idea to get us on our way to self-management?
Yeah. That is a really good question, Molly. The biggest key is when you come into the office, we want to get your, basically when you get your nervous system scanned, we want to get all of the interference taken care of. We want to get you, whether you're functioning here to up here. But then to answer your question, most people, when they get their health to here, we find what your body needs based on the external stresses that you have in your life. So for example, if you're sitting at an office desk for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, you might need, X amount of care. But we would be able to do that based on how your body is responding to it and in a very specific manner based on what your body needs. So it's absolutely to help improve your health from here to here. But once we get you here, your body is going to need a lot less help than when it was here.
Yeah.
So normally when people get into a really amazing health, they want to stay there. And whatever we have to do to keep you there, that is the amount of care that we would want to recommend for you.
Mm. That makes sense. And I know that, and to Molly's point too, I'm on a plan and there is an end. There's an end date. And then like anything, there's just some maintenance after that. I know there'll be times where I'll be going in because I'll need it. Because between being 50 years old and having a strong dislike of exercise, which doesn't help me. And I am working on that. And that's the other thing. Since I've been seeing you, I've gotten back to the gym and started walking again. Walking outside or walking on the treadmill. And that's something I had not done for a while. I started a bit at the end of last summer. And then I went ahead and just started doing it again. So that's been making a big difference as well, is being able to actually have that movement. It would just exhaust me too much, even something as simple as just walking. And now I'm walking again. So I've been noticing a ton of improvements, but I can really see how it so depends on your individual situation and what you're dealing with, because we're not all the same. We don't have the same issues or the same body.
Absolutely.
Now, so are there any other tips or anything you'd like to share?
Well, just seeing Molly's comment there one more time, I'll give you an example. I have a little old lady that lives on Lake Minnetonka who is retired, and she has her own personal workout instructor. And then I have a gentleman who works downtown about 70 hours a week, crazy hours. It's crazy that he actually gets in, but the amount of stress on those two individuals from a structural, from even a physical standpoint is so different. And so for each one of those people, for each one of these practice members, I have a different amount of care laid out for them. And it's all based on their neurology and their scans and how their nervous system is actually adapting to these external stresses that you have in your life. So maybe that explains it a little better than what I had said before. So
I think it does. Of course, now Molly says, "Who are you calling old?"
Oh, well,
elderly woman.
I did not say.
She put a laughy face. She's laughing.
Okay. I didn't say an age of who was living on Lake Minnetonka. So
elderly woman. Though I got to be honest, I look forward to being a little old lady.
Yeah.
You get away with so much more. My grandma's in her 90s. She can pretty much say and do anything. And that's pretty much one of my life goals, is to get to that age where you can pretty much say and do anything. And people are like, "Oh, she's just 90. Let her have it. She's 90.
Yeah. Let her do what she wants. She's
frankly,
90.
I feel like that should start at 50. I'm 50 now. Let me do what I want.
I think you still look 35. So you've got a little time.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing these tips with us. And again, Legend Chiropractic, you can find them on 7 and 41 over by Tuesday Morning by, what's that awesome restaurant next to you too? I'm just totally going, North Coop.
The North Coop is amazing.
Really
it's
good.
Funny. I have you told the Tuesday Morning story, and I have a few practice members that come like 10 or 15 minutes early, and that's just so they can only spend 10 minutes at Tuesday Morning and they can turn themselves off. So.
Yes, I love Tuesday Morning, but a little bit too much. So I appreciate you. Again, when this posts on social media, I'll include a link to his Facebook page and a link to the website as well. I've gotten a lot of benefit out of seeing him, and even if you don't see him as a patient, go on in and introduce yourself and say hello. He's a new business in the community. Go ahead and welcome him. And if you want to learn more about upcoming classes that he's going to be doing with Spirit of the Lake, yoga, and whatnot, you can check out his website or find him on social media under Legend Chiropractic. So you just hold on there, Dr. Axel. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will chat at you later.